If you're dealing with hypertension, high blood pressure, this is one of those videos that you want to check out. I'm Dr. Jermaine Ware. I want to share with you 10 different reasons, maybe 11, that I believe hypertension is an issue or what's actually causing it. There is no one single cause. Keep that in mind. There's not one thing that causes it, but there's a multitude of things that I think are in effect that may be messing with you in terms of how your body is dealing with hypertension. Okay, so as far as that goes, number one is table salt. Not so much table salt in itself as it's just like the salt that you put on food, but because this is the holidays, you'll know when you eat food that is like really salty. That could be playing a role in it, depending on what the food is. So that's part of it, as well as foods that you get from fast food establishments. You look at it, or packaged food as well, because the sodium content in there is what you're looking at. Not necessarily table salt, it's the sodium content of like some of the fast food, of mostly all of the fast food restaurants, most of your restaurants, and then a lot of your packaged foods that are like the quick fix. If they get rid of the fat in a food, then they probably increase the salt and the sugar in that food. So keep that in mind. So that's number one, looking at our sodium content. Number two, if you're a person that's a heavy drinker or a heavy smoker or one of the two, then that is something you probably need to keep in mind as well. That is not helping you out at all. Alcohol is one of those things that dries you out. So if it's drying you out, it's eliminating the flexibility in your veins because of the alcohol content. So hypertension is about how much tension is on the actual blood vessel when you're dealing with on a daily basis. And so what you're looking at there is how your body can actually be more flexible, more relaxed. So that's another one, the alcohol. Smoking. Smoking does a ton of damages. I'm really surprised people smoke anymore. But if you do, it's probably best to stop. It's so much of a dehydration issue for your body, so it just causes you more and more issues. So you do want to decrease your smoke. If you're a smoker, you want to stop that, okay? Being overweight. All right, being overweight or being obese is one of those things where it's so much pressure that you're adding to your body. It's so much more that you're requiring for your body to move on a daily basis, to do all the things that you need to do. It's gonna cause your blood pressure to be higher because there's more tissue there for those blood vessels to move through. So that's something you want to keep in mind, all right? The next one is stress. Stress comes in a multitude of ways. There's physical stress. There's two different types of stress. First of all, there's eustress and then there's de-stress. De-stress is, so there's a good one and a bad one, right? When you're dealing with stress, the bad stress, the de-stress, that's the one that's actually causing you to have more issues. It can happen mentally. It could be a mental thing. You could be replaying some bad thing in your mind over and over and over. That could be causing you stress. It could be some deadlines that you can't meet or that you're trying to meet. That could be causing you stress. That can manifest physically in terms of you're not able to sleep, or you're not able to, or you only want comfort food, so you change your diet. So that has a ton of different reasons in it. You could have those subtle things that are like microaggressions that you deal with on a daily basis. That could be something that's adding stress to you. Your idea of you have to be a little bit better than the next person, that could be a different type of stress. So there's all sorts of different types of stress. So stress, yes. The good type of stress, the eustress from working out, physical activity, that can actually help combat that. Meditation, those types of things can help combat that. But that is what you're looking at there when it comes to stress. So stress in itself is not bad. It's just which types of stress you're putting into play and how that's working out. So you have the stress. Another one is age. As we get older, pressure can be higher because of the physical changes that our body goes through. All right, so there's that. Kidney disease is another one. Chronic kidney disease, whether you're on dialysis or not, that could be one of those things that if you're not taking care of your kidneys, if you're not flushing your kidneys in terms of drinking plenty of water, drinking things like cranberry juice and blueberry juice and stuff like that, that can be damaging. If you're drinking a lot of liquids that contain a lot of phosphorus and things along those lines, like soda and alcohol and stuff like that, it's actually hurting your kidneys, then that can be a problem. Some of those caramel colors and other stuff like that, the colorings, that can be bad as well. So you want to keep all that in mind when it comes to dealing with your kidneys. You want to do those things that are beneficial for your kidneys and helping them out in as many ways as possible. The next is adrenal or thyroid disease or disorders, either one, like adrenal fatigue, thyroid disorders where you're having like Hashimoto's or something like that. Maybe not even that deep or that, to that level of a diagnosis, but if you're chronically stressed, then that can mess up your adrenals. If you're having other issues, you don't have enough iron in your diet, that can mess with your thyroid. It's things along those lines. It's the smaller things, not the big major stuff that's happening, but it's the smaller things that can actually hurt that function overall. So you want to keep that in mind when it comes to blood pressure. So there's that. Sleep apnea is another one. A lot of people go along with misdiagnosed or undiagnosed sleep apnea. Sleep apnea is where you stop breathing so many times a night, right? You want to make sure you are resting well. If you wake up where you're tired all the time, there is an opportunity for you to have sleep apnea be involved. If that is the case, a lot of people who are obese deal with sleep apnea. Not everyone, but a lot of people who are. So you see how you have the compounding things here. Or you can have compounding things. Because if you have sleep apnea, more than likely you don't wake up feeling well rested. So you need something to kind of get you going to start your day. So you reach for something that's high in carbohydrates, which is like, high in sugar. And that sugar is going to contribute to that obesity. And then you turn around and you may do something else to kind of keep yourself awake. That may contain a bunch of salt because you'll eat, your choices of food are not going to be the greatest. If you've eaten something sugary in the morning, then you want to go do something fast for lunch. So you'll probably eat a fast food situation where you're dealing with a lot of sodium. The list can go on. It can be a snowball. So sleep apnea is very important. If you think you have that, or if there's an opportunity for you to have that, get tested. See how it goes. The reason is because your body's not getting enough oxygen. If your body's not getting enough oxygen, then of course you're going to have blood issues. Another option for that one, it's not everywhere, but if you are in Las Vegas or if you go to Las Vegas, go to the Cocoon Wellness Spa. They have these oxygenated tubs. Great way to kind of rejuvenate, boost the body up again, to give yourself a little bit of love when it comes to oxygen. If you know someone that has a hyperbaric chamber, that is also another option. But some people are claustrophobic, so they don't really enjoy that experience very much. But that is an option for you. So if sleep apnea is a potential there, then let's address that. The last thing that I want to say about this is genetics. We all know that most people, or a lot of people with hypertension issues, are African American. And so if you consider this, the way African Americans came through in terms of working in the fields when they were in, a lot of people were, in bondage in the South. You're working in fields. And if you're doing that and you're working in the hot sun all day long, the people who were able to genetically survive were the people who were able to retain salt. And if you're able to retain salt, that means you could work longer you could work for a longer period of time. Well, if you're a person who worked for a longer period of time, you're actually more valuable, and therefore you would have been, probably your gene pool went a lot further down the line. If you're somebody who couldn't make it and you passed out and died, of course, you're not going to be around. But if you're a person who was able to do that, then it's more than likely that you are, that could be a potential genetic connection for you. And then the other part to think about when it comes to these numbers is that I'm not certain if everyone who was measured during that, where they came up with that number, I'm not sure if there were any females or if there were any minorities in that average number. And it seems as if that average number keeps shifting these days. So when they came up with that 120 over 80, I don't believe there were any women. Don't believe there is anyone who is a minority in that average number. Therefore, some things we have to take and look at it a little bit differently and get a different measure of how things should be measured there. All right, it's Dr. J. Ware.